Hey, it's Nikki, and this is Overlooked Challenges Female Tour Guides Face and How to Address Them. To be clear, the challenges that female tour guides face are certainly not exclusive to women, nor do all females feel completely incapable of navigating them successfully. However, the added expectation for women to be warm, accommodating, nurturing, which you find in many cultures across the globe, can actually make it difficult for women to address unwanted attention from guests during a tour, especially in a the customer is always right atmosphere when the threat of a bad review can be held over you very easily. This is just a very quick list of things that have happened often to me and to other female guides that I know. For example, you have a solo tour and it quickly turns into a date that you did not sign up for. A guest flirts with you and then is angry if you don't respond. A guest flirts with you in front of their partner, making the partner hostile towards you. The classic unwanted touching, personal questions, attention, pressure to drink, etc. And then the guest aggressively battling for control over the tour. So talking over you, giving their own information, making it hard to kind of move forward. So while this article is not about sexual harassment specifically, I am by no means an authority on the topic. I just want to offer teams a few ways to account for these challenges that your staff most definitely faces on a regular basis. So how to address these challenges with your team. Number one, acknowledge to your team that these challenges occur and are not okay. I know that seems simple, but it should be very clear to your entire team, regardless of their gender, what behavior is not acceptable from guests. You should familiarize yourself with local harassment laws and policies. I personally find the hashtag That's Harassment videos very useful when I've talked about this with guides. And as I said, it might seem obvious, but your team needs to hear from you publicly what is considered not okay in order for them to feel empowered to stop behavior that makes them uncomfortable. And to be clear, what is defined as harassment or sexual harassment varies greatly from country to country. So you'll kind of need to look at, what is going on culturally where you live, what is the culture of your guests, the demographic that are coming to you, probably from different countries, and also what your guides are comfortable with. This needs to be a dialogue between you and your guides. Number two, you then need to give your team a clear plan of action, right? So once your guides know what they don't have to put up with, give them a plan of action that they can easily reference, whether it's on a website that they can access or something printed out or saved in their email. For example, how should they report an incident if something happens? Do they call you right away? Do they wait to the end of the tour? Whom can they call during the tour if they're having difficulty and it's really bad? What if they don't pick up? Who's the next person to call? What autonomy do they have? What power do they have? For example, to kick someone off the tour if necessary. Are you giving them permission to do that? If yes, what are the steps that they need to take to do that? The plan should be easy for guides to follow also. It should be realistic. If you tell them to call the CEO who has never interacted with your guides before, your guides might not feel comfortable and so will never actually follow up on it. It needs to be something that they feel comfortable doing because this is already a really uncomfortable situation. Bonus, you can give your guides the tools they need to stand up for themselves during a tour. My favorite way to train tour guides for stressful situations, as I've mentioned before, is through group brainstorming and role-playing in the safe environment of a team training. Or you can simply give your guides the space to talk. At one guide conference I ran, a guide, actually one of our own guides, ran a wonderful session where she encouraged women or men who were also welcome to attend to share how they felt on tours and on their teams as females, right? It was really, really interesting to sit in on those conversations. At another conference, even easier, we held just a casual women meetup at a cafe one day after the sessions had finished. And it really sparked very actionable conversation, which is really interesting. Of course, keep in mind this is very sensitive topic, so you will need to be very intentional as to who might be leading this training. Not anyone can just do it. It needs to be done in a very safe and intentional way. Another bonus tip, you can have a company safe space policy. I am obsessed with having safe space policies. I first got the idea from one of my favorite bookshops here in New York City called Blue Stockings. They're this like radical feminist bookshop on the Lower East Side. But if you go to their website, they have what's called a safe space policy. And in it clearly outlines what behavior is acceptable and what is not. It's, what you might think. It's pretty obvious. No bullying, no hate speech, things like that. No discrimination against people. But it sort of leaves it defines it, and then holds accountable both the employees and the guests for upholding this safe space. I've implemented this at all of the companies I've worked for. I put together a public-facing one, so one that would go on the actual website for guests to see. This empowers both our guides and guests to maintain a safe space during the tour, and also should there be any incident really bad, which rarely happens if you're talking to the guests. That's a very extreme situation that doesn't happen as often, but if something does come up, if a guide needs to end a tour, and your guest is angry, you can point them to the safe space policy that is public and say, this was not upheld. You violated this policy. And I also have an internal one always to ensure our workplace is a safe space as well. So whether, it's guides on a tour or guide manager relationship or at conferences, outlining what is acceptable and what is not acceptable so that you can hold people accountable to it.